The hands of the physical therapist worked methodically on my left knee. The one that still could not bend more than 90 degrees. 6 months after the accident, I had made slow but steady progress. Every session brought small victories. Last month, I had managed to climb stairs for the first time. 2 weeks ago, I stood for an entire supermarket visit. Dr. Martinez said, "Another 4 months of intensive therapy and you may walk without the limp that defines every step you take." "You're doing very well, Elena." She guided my leg through the painful range of motion. The stretch burned my quadriceps. That familiar fire that meant healing was happening. "I can see real improvement from last week. Your range of motion has increased 5 degrees. 5 degrees did not seem like much to most people, but I had learned to measure recovery in millimeters and seconds of standing without pain. And in those small victories that rebuilt a life 1 degree at a time. My phone vibrated. It was Mom. I ignored it during the session, focusing on the exercises that hurt but helped. The accident had destroyed more than my knee. The drunk driver who ran the red light had fractured my femur, my hip, and left nerve damage that made standing for more than 20 minutes an ordeal. When the session ended, I checked my phone. 7 missed calls from Mom, not counting the messages from my sister Valeria. My stomach tightened. I called Mom from the parking lot, leaning against my car because standing without support still exhausted me. Finally, Mom answered. "We need to talk. Come to the house." "I just finished therapy. Can't it wait?" "No." The drive to my parents' house took 15 minutes. Before the accident, I could do it in 8. Now I had to drive an automatic because my left leg could no longer handle the clutch. Dad's car was in the driveway next to Valeria's new car, an engagement gift from her fiancé's parents. I parked on the street and gave myself an extra minute before going inside. Everyone was in the living room: Mom, Dad, Valeria, and her fiancé Marcus. Valeria had wedding magazines spread across the coffee table, her engagement ring catching the afternoon light every time she gestured. "Sit down, Elena," Mom said. I lowered myself carefully into the armchair that allowed me to keep my leg elevated. "Valeria's engagement party is in 3 weeks," Mom began. "We're looking at venues, banquets. Everything has to be perfect." "That's wonderful," I said sincerely. "Valeria and Marcus have been together for 4 years. I'm happy for you both. The thing is," Mom continued, "we've been doing the math. The party we want, the one Valeria deserves, will cost about $20,000. I waited. My disability payments from the accident were decent, enough to cover rent, medical expenses, and basics. The insurance company paid monthly while my case moved through the legal system. "We need to make some adjustments to the family budget," Dad said for the first time, avoiding my eyes. "Your physical therapy," Mom said, "is costing us $1,200 a week, almost $5,000 a month." My chest tightened. The therapy was helping. Dr. Martinez kept saying, "You're walking now." "It's not perfect," Valeria interrupted. "But she walks. That's enough," Mom added quickly. "We're not saying forever, just for a few months. Until after the wedding. The engagement party is important, Elena. First impressions matter for Marcus's family." I looked at Dad. He studied the carpet. "Walking isn't the priority right now," Mom said. "Your sister's happiness is. This is her moment. You understand, right?" Those words hung in the air. Walking isn't the priority. As if my ability to move through the world without pain was optional. As if the progress I had fought for during 6 months of agonizing therapy sessions was negotiable. "What about the settlement?" I asked quietly. "My lawyer said it should come soon." "That could be months away. Probably. Valeria's engagement party is in 3 weeks. We need the money now." "We've already been covering your rent," Mom said. "And your groceries, your medical bills," Dad added without looking at me. "This is just a temporary adjustment." I wanted to argue, to explain that losing even 2 weeks of therapy could set me back months. That Dr. Martinez had warned me about interruptions. That my knee was at a critical point in recovery. But I had learned something in 6 months of depending on family. Sometimes silence was easier than fighting battles you could not win. "Okay," I said. Mom's face relaxed. "Good, I knew you'd understand. This is what family does. We sacrifice for each other. Valeria smiled at me, the same smile she gave when she took my car in high school and returned it with an empty tank. Thank you, Elena. This means everything to me. I drove home in silence, my knee throbbing from the day's effort. That night I called Dr. Martinez's office and cancelled my standing appointments. The receptionist sounded concerned. Are you sure? Dr. Martinez specifically said consistency is crucial at your stage. I'm sure, I said and hung up before she could ask more. The next 2 weeks blurred together. Without therapy, my knee stiffened. The limp grew worse. The pain became my constant companion, sharp and accusing with every step. The planning for Valeria's engagement party consumed the house. Every family dinner turned into discussions of venues, debates over banquets, symposia on floral arrangements. I sat in silence, elevating my knee while they planned a party funded by abandoning my medical care. The ice sculptures alone cost $3,000, Valeria announced one night at dinner. But Marcus's mother specifically wanted them. It's worth every penny, Mom assured. This party sets the tone for everything. I pushed the food around my plate. The pain medication made me nauseous, but I needed it more than ever without therapy to manage the swelling. You're quiet today, Dad observed. Just tired, I said. Well, try to be more enthusiastic, Mom said. It's a happy time for the family. By day 16 without therapy, my knee had swollen to twice its normal size. The inflammation that Dr. Martinez had been carefully managing with specific exercises had returned with force. I went back to using the cane, something I had graduated from 2 months earlier. Every step reminded me of what I had sacrificed for ice sculptures and party planners. My phone rang with an unknown number. I almost didn't answer, but something made me pick up. Miss Vargas, this is David Chen from Morrison & Associates. I'm calling about your settlement, the voice said. I straightened my back, ignoring the sharp pain in my knee. Yes, we've received final approval from the insurance company and the defendant's legal team. The settlement is ready to disburse. Can you come to the office tomorrow to sign the final documents? How much? My voice came out barely a whisper. $3.2 million. After legal fees, you will receive $2.8 million. The room spun. $2.8 million. Enough for a lifetime of physical therapy. Enough to never depend on anyone again. Enough to reclaim every degree of mobility I had lost in the last 16 days. Miss Vargas, are you there? Yes, sorry, yes, I'll be there tomorrow. That night I didn't sleep. I searched for accessible apartments. I found a specialized physical therapy clinic for complex orthopedic recovery and researched adaptive equipment that could ease my daily life. By morning I had a plan. The lawyer's office was on the 15th floor of a downtown building. Mr. Chen was young, efficient, and thorough. He explained every page of the documentation. The funds will transfer to your account in 48 hours, he said. I recommend speaking with a financial advisor before making major decisions. I already know what my first decision will be, I said. He smiled. Most people do. I left his office with the signed papers and a lightness I hadn't felt in months. Not physical lightness. My knees still hurt. My hips protested with every movement. But something else had lifted. That same day, the family chat exploded. Valeria had found the perfect party planner, but they needed a $5,000 deposit before Friday. The messages came in bursts, each more demanding than the last. Mom, Elena, can you ask through the lawyer if we can advance part of the settlement? Elena, please, this planner is incredible. She did the mayor's daughter's wedding. Dad, it would really help the family. Elena, Mom says you're being difficult about this. It's just a deposit. Elena, we've done so much for you. This is the least you can do. I watched the messages pile up, each one assuming my agreement, my gratitude, my willingness to sacrifice more for their celebration. I wrote and deleted 3 responses before settling on something simple. No. My phone rang immediately. I let it ring 3 times before answering. What do you mean no? This is for your sister. I mean no, I'm not asking my lawyer for an advance. Elena, don't be selfish. This is a family expense. We've been supporting you for months. your rent, your food, your medical bills. You cancelled my physical therapy to pay for an engagement party. Temporarily, I said. You said temporarily once the settlement arrived. It arrived yesterday. Silence long enough to hear her breathing change. I could almost hear the mental calculations. What settlement? I signed the papers yesterday. 2.8 million after legal fees. More silence. Then carefully, in that tone people use when they think they've won. Well, that's wonderful. Then you can help with the party expenses. Actually, now that you have so much, you could cover the whole thing. 20,000 is nothing compared to. No, I interrupted. I'm not paying for the party. I'm not paying for anything else for you. Elena, we're family. We've taken care of you. You've been using my own money. The insurance company has been paying you $800 a month for my care. Plus the $10,000 from supplemental disability insurance. That's $3,000 a month you've received for my expenses. The silence stretched so long I thought she had hung up. How? I called the insurance company and requested a record of all payments made on my behalf. It turns out you've been receiving funds for my care while telling me I was a financial burden and that walking wasn't a priority. Now wait a minute. I hung up. My hands were shaking, but not from fear, from the strange euphoria of finally saying what I had held back for months. The group chat exploded. Valeria called me selfish, ungrateful, cruel. Dad sent a long message about family loyalty and sacrifice. Mom alternated between guilt trips and demands. I blocked everyone. That night I called Dr. Martinez's office and rescheduled my therapy. 3 sessions per week, starting immediately. The receptionist sounded relieved. Dr. Martinez will be so happy to hear from you. She's been worried. I also called a real estate agent about accessible apartments. I scheduled appointments with a financial advisor and researched the best orthopedic surgeons for consultations on additional procedures that Dr. Martinez had mentioned could help. The next day, Valeria showed up at my apartment. I watched from the window as she knocked, then pounded, and finally left. She had driven across the city in the car her future in-laws gave her to demand money from the sister she considered incapable of covering her own medical care. Marcus called that night. Look, I don't know all the details, but Valeria is really upset. Can't you help with the party for family peace? Tell me something, Marcus. If your knee were shattered and you needed therapy to walk properly, would you consider walking a priority? That's not fair. He hesitated. Of course. Then you have your answer. He didn't call again. My first physical therapy session in 2 weeks was brutal. My knee had stiffened significantly. Dr. Martinez worked carefully, her concern evident in every movement. We've lost some progress, she said. But we can get it back. It will take time and consistency. Now I have both, I said. She smiled. Good, that's what I needed to hear. During the following week I signed a lease for a ground-floor apartment with wide doors and an accessible shower. I bought a car with adapted hand controls, in case my leg never fully recovered. I met with a financial advisor who helped me set up accounts, investments, and a trust. I resumed therapy 3 times a week, sometimes 4, according to Dr. Martinez's recommendation. The family calls and messages continued for a while, then slowed, and finally stopped. I heard from a cousin that Valeria's engagement party had been scaled back significantly. 50 people instead of 200. A private restaurant room instead of the country club. A supermarket cake instead of the custom designer cake they had planned. I felt no satisfaction, no victory, only the quiet relief of no longer being responsible for other people's choices. 6 weeks after the settlement, I could bend my knee to 120 degrees. Dr. Martinez was optimistic about full recovery with continued therapy. You're one of my hardest working patients, she said. I was worried about the break in therapy, but you've come back stronger. I had motivation, I said. My new apartment had space for a home exercise area. I worked with Dr. Martinez to create a supplemental routine. I hired a personal trainer specializing in rehabilitation. I invested in my recovery the way others invest in retirement accounts. Because walking was my priority. My priority, non-negotiable, not temporary, not something to sacrifice for someone else's party. 3 months after signing the papers, I walked a mile without stopping. My knee ached, but it held.